The local authorities are entrusted with the responsibility of establishing and managing public facilities such as markets and bus stations. However, in the recent past, political party cadres overpowered the council's role of collecting revenue, and instead the cadres themselves took over the running of these facilities, including the collection of levies. This week on News in Depth, we look at the impact of political cadrerism on the operations of the local authority in Lusaka. I'm your host, Masauso Mukwayaya. Stay tuned.
This picture gives an insight of activities in most trading places across the country. This is BH Market, one of the most populated trading places in the city of Lusaka. Over the years, this trading place, like any other market, has coined itself a part-time home for thousands of traders who spend over 10 hours at the facility daily. The market is a source of livelihood for thousands of traders. Because of the many business-related activities at BH, it is expected to be a key source of revenue for the Lusaka City Council. The Lusaka City Council is the government's official agent in the capital city, mandated to establish and operate markets and bus stations. This is according to the Markets and Bus Stations Act of 2007. The aforesaid is with an exception of a few facilities that are in private hands and others run by cooperatives. Despite this clear legal provision, management of markets and bus stations has been at the center of controversy. Among the key contentions in markets and bus stations has been the collection of levies. This challenge can be traced back to the UNIP days when the party's youth wing, also known as vigilantes, controlled the collection of levies and other fees from traders. In recent years, youths in political parties have assumed another term, away from UNIP's vigilante. Young political enthusiasts are now referred to as cadres. According to the Oxford Dictionary, a cadre is a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession. But in the Zambian political parlance, a cadre is a lowly ranked individual, mainly a youth, in the organization structure of a political party. The most recent political party cadres who patronized and allegedly controlled markets are said to have belonged to the former ruling party, the Patriotic Front.
The council was prevented from collecting certain revenues from certain sections of the markets and bus stations, or on certain days of the week. The council was restricted to only operate on a number of days, and that had a direct impact on the revenue, in the sense that we could only collect, in some cases, just 1/3. I would say maybe 33% to 40% of the total revenue that the council could collect from such kind of facilities.
Some traders and bus drivers spoken to have recollected on some incidences of alleged harassment and extortion which they experienced in markets.
We never used to work well. We were like slaves. We suffered at the hands of cadres. There was no freedom at all. We couldn't even be interviewed like we are doing now.
There was no peace. Cadres used to insult us. Sometimes they would get our merchandise and lock them in their office if we failed to pay what they demanded.
My bus makes 180 kwacha per trip, and cadres would demand a share of 40 kwacha from the money for every trip I made. That made it difficult for me to make cash in and also buy fuel.
They used to extort money from us, and I don't know where that money used to go. They always came around in new and expensive vehicles.
Some commuters were not spared from clashes with cadres.
It was a situation whereby even when you're going to get on a bus, more especially public transport, I think these people would get you in a harsh way, and sometimes lock buses which you're supposed to get in.
As passengers, we know if I'm going to the Copper Belt, I should ask which bus is going to the Copper Belt. If I'm going maybe to Matero or Irlanda, I should know where I'm going. So a passenger must have the right to choose the bus of their choice. So in the past, we never used to have all these things. I mean, the cadres, the cowboys will force you to board a bus of not of your choice.
Another challenge of managing council trading and transport facilities were issues to do with security. Law enforcement agencies such as the police found it difficult to police places which were under the illegal control of cadres.
The challenge was that different people with different positions were giving different directives. So it became so difficult. Today you would go remove cadres from the markets and bus stations. The following day a different pronouncement is made.
Further, some associations looking into the welfare of people doing business in markets and bus stations were also not spared from the torment.
Everyone lived in fear, you know. A lot of levies that were paid, I think 3-4 times. Our people were being deprived of the little income that we were earning. We were not free even to talk on the media. We come here, we're supposed to get permission from the so-called Commander 1. You know, we had commanders everywhere. For what?
I'm happy that I'm having this interview because it has got special memories that I listened to me. This is where, because of the total authority that the cadres had, I was brutally assaulted in this place, left lying on the ground bleeding, and no one could touch me because everyone was scared of the cadres.
Capital Bus's proprietor, Ishmael Kankara, recounts how 2 of his drivers lost employment due to injuries allegedly suffered at the hands of the cadres. Mr. Kankara further recalls how his business was almost going under.
First of all, the safety of my drivers. You know, we lost 2 drivers to Cadrerism, thuggery. We lost 2 drivers. One driver was hacked. He's still alive. His memory, he's got a bit of a problem with the memory. He was in hospital for a long time. His family suffered. In terms of our drivers being beaten up and all that, we suffered a lot. Financially also, we suffered a lot. We were failing to collect some money for reinvestment. You know, every buses, transport sector, you need buses every now and again. So we were facing a big challenge.
It is further understood that cadres could not allow the council to make any structural changes or put up any structures that did not benefit them in any way. This situation placed the local authority at loggerheads with the cadres.
Whenever the council planned, for example, to improve the infrastructure, we were in a way required to get permission from the cadres. Even to do that which is good for the community, we were required to get permission from the cadres. And if we didn't, for example, meet their interests, they would stop us from implementing such kind of plans.
Apart from overpowering the council, cadres made sure that each trader paid dearly for a day's trading. The traders were asked to pay about 250 kwacha annually as stand fee.
I pay my rentals from this same business. My husband passed away a long time ago. This is my capital, my everything. But cadres would chase me if I failed to pay for this trading space.
Every year, cadres demanded an annual stand fee of between 250 kwacha and 300 kwacha to renew a stand. For one to find a small space for trading stand, you would be asked to pay huge amounts of money.
Other than terrorizing the trading places, the cadres were also intolerant to any political views other than perceived ideologies of their political party. Capital bus drivers and those at Lumumba bus station recollect how much beating they received for supporting other political parties.
It was bad. Very bad.
Things were very bad. Working with cadres here was not a good thing. They would pounce and beat you for merely wearing anything red in color.
Just because of a So now, you see the bill.
Extortion and discount was a daily thing. I was once punched by a cadre who is way younger than me. He punched me for giving him a 15 kwacha for a few passengers that boarded my bus.
Despite collecting levies from marketeers and bus operators, the cadres pocketed all the money without investing back in the facilities for better service delivery. This meant that local authorities were to survive on the little they collected elsewhere. It is worth noting that the Lusaka City Council, as a case in point, made frantic efforts to regain its mandate, which all led to nothing.
A number of consultative meetings were held with the stakeholders, as they were called, but would have discussions, sometimes even come up with solutions or suggestions on how to improve revenue collections and the management of these facilities. But what would happen is those solutions or proposals were never implemented, and that is where the major weakness was. So people realized this was a problem and they even had answers to it, but what was missing was to implement those recommendations that were made.
We did engage government at different levels of governance, starting from the Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Local Government. Now, it was clear from these meetings that the ministries that were given the mandate to manage law and order were giving total political support to the activities of the cadres. So for us, that could not happen. Now, that could not help us. And it went down to the stations where even the drivers in the stations had to follow the directives that the cadres were giving.
All things being equal, local authorities are supposed to be one of the richest public institutions because of the daily collections they make from various facilities. However, this has not been the case for Lusaka City Council. For instance, at Intercity Bus Terminus alone, the council has been losing approximately 2 million kwacha per month. The spiral effect of this state of affairs is that council workers went for months without getting paid. This is because the authority could not collect enough money due to interference from cadres.
If you go, for example, at New Soweto Market, which was one of the most affected facilities, you'd find that the workers there, they haven't been paid, some of them 6 months, others even for a year, because the amount of money that was collected from that facility could not suffice to meet the operational costs, because as you know, we have ablution blocks that require chemicals to clean. We also have the garbage to collect. We have bills to pay for electricity, water bills, and then on top of that, pay the workers. So you'd find that what we could collect could not meet all these costs, including the emoluments for the staff. And as a result, you'd find people went for half a year or even a year without being paid. That's how bad the situation has been.
Since taking office, the United Party for National Development, UPND leadership, has categorically stressed that it does not want cadres to interfere with the operations of local authorities.
The state is there, police are there, we are appealing to them to take charge. We are aware that in some few instances, some cadres have taken over some bus stops, some markets. We want you to know that those are temporary takeovers. Those are temporary takeovers because the council are coming to take over the markets, they are coming to take over the bus stops. We are aware that there are many people there who have been making a living out of patronizing bus stops, patronizing markets.
This pronouncement consequently led to the deployment of police officers to round up cadres found extorting traders or bus drivers.
We are happy with this policy because it will make our work easy And I should even say that it has made our work easy, because it is coming out as a clear policy on bringing a stop to cadrerism in these markets. And these are the challenges which I think many institutions used to have, because there were a lot of cadres controlling these institutions, and it was evident that there was no clear policy in that area at that particular time. So this time around, after the pronouncement was made, I think it came at the right time, before people got established, those cadres got established in the market. So as they were still struggling to get spaces, grab spaces from those from the PF, there was that pronouncement which came about, and officers were told to go and bring sanity in these places.
For traders, this has been long overdue.
Tamvera bwino maningi polisi utisebenze. Apa ziko yaoneka kuti manje ina malamulo.
I am happy for this development, and now the police will do their work. We never used to work well. Cadres and cowboys were always disturbing and demanding for money. Now there is law and order. This must continue.
So ziko apa ina malamulo tamvera bwino. So ipitirize so chabe.
Aparesa natu asuka.
This is an answered prayer from God. He has wiped our tears. We are now asking the government to look into our plight beyond this pronouncement. We no longer want cadres here.
Cadres are not needed here. We only want people who support government. We don't want people to come here, make branches, and start disturbing us. Every person who is found here should have productive things to do. Cadres are now history.
It's also an empowerment to the local authority. Today, we'll be able to see the local authorities operating freely in the markets. And it means that even more jobs will be created, because they will need to employ people, perhaps our own children, to be part of the whole process to collect the levies across the country, so which is a plus.
And for some bus drivers, the pronouncement means freedom.
Tonga zikomu government apa yatianga nako station yatu emirene mwenze na feratu.
We are grateful to the government for looking into our plight. Our Millennium bus station had completely been taken over. We started loading from the streets. Our plea is that the decision should be extended to all trading places, including those in townships.
Pakasitianga nako kuti baja ma officers ari makomboni pakasitanda zako because kujana kweve bana sisi mekuti wapanga kati akani chiteka kondrama.
So Tonga ziko by the new government.
We are thankful to the government. There is now hope for a better trading place. We are also happy with the police presence because they are here to maintain order. Just in these few days, we are able to account properly for our earnings. We don't need cadres anymore.
Now police now tio patia pa paliboma paja. Kuchapa itikada akada safunika. Safunika mara ifikada. Si muntu.
For commuters, this means freedom of movement. Government has made a very good decision. We can now see order in the city. Before this, people never had peace and freedom to move about in town, and it had become too much. So this is good.
So if you know the incoming of the new government, the stance they've taken is a very good thing. What you expect to see is sanity in all the bus stations, especially that the cadres will be removed and all those cowboys. So the station management should make sure that they should bring harmony in the station. They should not allow anybody to roll the bus.
With financial stability being envisioned, the Lusaka City Council foresees a better future and an independent institution devoid of political interference.
What this means now is that we'll have the revenue, but we'll also be able to plan these facilities and improve them so that we can have a better service that our people can access in these facilities. And then even away from that, we'll be able to meet our bills, be able to pay our bills, and be able to pay the workers on time.
We would want to see a situation where the local authority begins to work with us, because we are the ones that will be giving them this money. We need to work together. We'll support them. We'll support the government, because as an association, we work with the government of the day. So we are very much excited about it.
Zambia National Marketeers Credit Association, Zanamaka, and the Bus Stations and Taxis Association have urged their members to embrace everyone.
In the spirit that the president has said, to say, let us forgive each other, love each other as a brother and sister, look after each other like a twin brother and twin sister. Let us emulate what the president has said and start looking at these people and use this opportunity to educate those that fell prey to the coming in of Cadrerism. And I'd also like to advise those that are taking up leadership within the station that they should not fall prey to political influence in managing the affairs of the drivers in the station.
Every marketeer must understand that these are our markets. These are our industries. Some of us have been here for over 30 years. Some of us have been here for over 20 years. Every school leaver today cannot find a job because there are no companies to work from. And most of them are coming here. So we have people coming here every day. Women are being divorced. Maybe the husband is not working. So they have to be here so that they create these monies to feed their families.
Lusaka businessman Ishmael Kankara is positive that his drivers will never have to panic whilst at work. He says the decision to remove cadres has relieved him and his team from financial stress inflicted on him by the cadres.
That's what we need, and we've got hope. When we see such, we see hope. Hope has to be there. The reason I'm also talking a lot is this should never be allowed in Zambia ever again. No human being must extort money from another human being. It's evil. It's evil, because you cannot be extorting money. If somebody gives you some money out of their own good to buy a loaf of bread or something, that's different. But when you say nipase drama, otherwise nizakumenya or nizakupaya or nizakuchitavaso, it's wrong. It's totally wrong. No human being must go through that.
To ensure council facilities are completely disassociated from political parties, the local authority has removed all political materials from the facilities. Further, the council is on the move to rebrand offices used by cadres and make them council offices to be used by the market officers.
The issue of having offices for political parties in the markets, we need to be allowed to completely remove these offices. Any structures that were built, colored in part colors with flags, the council should be given the latitude to move in and turn those offices into council offices, so that we do not have any symbol or any sign of saying we still have political parties or political party cadres in these facilities.
Clearly, political interference is retrogressive to the operations and growth of public institutions countrywide. The Lusaka City Council and other local authorities that were oppressed by Cadrerism now have a chance to rebuild and prove themselves. This is expected to translate into efficient service delivery in their areas of jurisdiction.
That is all we had for you on this week's edition of News in Depth, where we are looking at the impact of political cadrerism on the operations of the local authority in Lusaka. Join us next week for another informative News in Depth documentary. I've been your host, Masao Mukwayaya. Thank you so much for watching. Pleasant viewing.